Hello friends and welcome to a new video. Thank you so much for being here. This video marks the start of a new series here on the channel in which I plan to finish all of the book series that I am currently in the middle of. This first episode is dedicated to finishing the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. Exactly 1 year ago in February 2024, I have read the first book in this series, which is Clockwork Angel. There is something so nostalgic about Cassandra Clare's books. When I read them, I immediately get transported back to the late 2000s, early 2010s, and I just love it. So the plan for this video is to continue reading the Infernal Devices and finish this series. So I will be reading Clockwork Prince and Clockwork Princess. Even though a year has gone by, I still remember vividly the ending of Clockwork Angel, which is the first book. We hate Will now. We hate Will. Will is now on my shit list, and I hope he had a very traumatic thing happen to him in the past, because otherwise I can't explain what he did. I think we are introduced to the idea that something happened with his parents, but we don't know exactly what was it that happened. If you are not familiar with the series and with the premise of it, basically we are set obviously in the Shadowhunters universe. The action takes place in the Victorian London, and we are following our main character Tessa Gray, I think, as she goes to London to be reunited with her brother Nathaniel. She comes from the United States to London, and she is greeted by these two very mysterious and strange sisters. And I'm sorry, but if someone introduces themselves to you as the Dark Sisters, you don't ask any questions. You should be running, okay? Okay, but because the Dark Sisters are giving Tessa a letter from Nathaniel, and they speak very highly of him, and they seem like they know her brother, she just agrees to go with them to meet Nathaniel. And long story short is that the Dark Sisters are basically imprisoning Tessa in their house, and they are training / torturing her because she is able to shapeshift. So they are training her to be able to shapeshift with more ease. Some weeks pass and Tessa is getting more confident in her shapeshifting abilities. Also, I don't think I mentioned, but the Dark Sisters have this servant, lackey, I don't know what she is, called Miranda, and Miranda is responsible with taking Tessa to her training room and basically supervising what Tessa is doing. And at the very beginning of the book, I think it is still in chapter 1 or 2, something along those lines, it is revealed that Miranda is some sort of robot, because when Tessa tries to escape, because she figured out that if she's shapeshifting to someone else that has a smaller body than herself, she's able to basically escape the shackles that she is currently in. And she tries to escape, and she basically gets into this fight with Miranda, and she realizes that Miranda is not actually a human, but she's a robot. And that scene altered my brain chemistry. I am not even kidding. It is so cool to have this steampunk element infused into the book, also with the Clockwork Angel that she wears around her neck. It's like a necklace that her mother gave to her. Anyway, Tessa is rescued from the Dark Sisters by Will and Jem, who are shadow hunters working for the London Institute. Will and Jem bring Tessa to the London Institute, where she meets Charlotte and Henry, who are the heads of the institute. But yeah, with Clockwork Angel, I really liked the premise and how it was executed. I liked the whole plot twist at the end with Tessa faking her own death to basically trick the magistrate to let her go. And I'm scared as to what will happen in the second and third book. I'm pretty sure by the end of this series, Tessa will have to choose between Jem and Will, because the love triangle is triangling. Also, other random things that I remember from the first book, it is mentioned multiple times that Tessa doesn't like chocolate and Will is making fun of her for that. Also, other than Magnus and probably Tessa, my other favorite character from the first book is Camille. I know it's supposed to be Camille because it's in English, but in my mind she's French, so it's Camille. Camille is this vampire that hates the head of the vampire clan from London, who's the Quincy, because apparently he murdered one of her ex-lovers and now she's helping the shadow hunters infiltrate into the Pandemonium Club. So the plan for today is to obviously start Clockwork Prince, which is the second book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. I want to go to a bookstore that I used to go to a lot when I was in college. The problem is that it usually is very crowded. It has this very cool interior design and architecture to the building, and it's like a tourist attraction, and I get it because I like it a lot. But because today is Tuesday and I'm planning to go there basically like in the middle of the day, hopefully it's not gonna be that crowded as it usually is. So yeah, I want to go there to read for a bit, maybe have a coffee afterwards, and then tomorrow I want to go to my parents' house. But yeah, that's pretty much it for right now. I will see you in a bit when I will be updating you with my progress from Clockwork Prince. friends, I am now 47% into Clockwork Prince. I am on chapter 11, and I wanted to give you like a bit of a reading update as to what happens so far in the book. I have my notes here because there are quite a lot of things that I wanna tell you about. So there's some construction going around on our street, so hopefully you can't hear it, but if you do, then I'm sorry. Okay, so the book starts with the Council of the Shadow Hunters, who give Charlotte and Henry 2 weeks to find Mortmain's whereabouts, or if not, Benedict Lightwood will challenge Charlotte for the position of the head of the London Institute. So there's like a very high possibility for them to lose the London Institute if they don't find Mortmain in the span of 2 weeks. Also, something that I didn't realize until now, or I just forgot from the first book, but Charlotte is a Fairchild. If you read the Mortal Instruments, you know what this means. Also, as part of their initial deal with the Council of the Shadow Hunters, Gabriel and Gideon Lightwood are now supposed to train Tessa and Sophie and also potentially Jessamine to be able to overcome like a future battle if they will be attacked again in the London Institute. As they are digging Mortmain's past, Charlotte discovers that his adoptive parents were warlocks, and the clock that Mortmain tries to give to Tessa in the end of Clockwork Angel for her to transform into that person is actually Mortmain's father's clock. So we got a bit of an understanding as to kind of what happened or what was the importance of the ending of Clockwork Angel for Mortmain at least, but we still don't know why he wants to have access to his father's memories. Also, something else related to the Mortal Instruments, but I now realize that Church the cat is in this book as well, or in this series, so I don't know if it's the same cat or not, because there's like a lot of time for that cat to be alive. But I guess all of the institutes have a cat named Church. I don't know. I'm still kind of iffy on that. As they are continuing their research, they find out that the head of the York Institute, his name is Starkweather, he might be able to help them get more information on Mortmain's parents. So Will and Jem and Tessa are going to York to talk to Starkweather. In York, they find out that Mortmain's parents were killed by a group of shadow hunters because his parents were in the possession of the Book of the White. And the Book of the White contains spells for binding and unbinding. It also turns out that Mortmain's father was researching ways to animate objects, so this is why he was in possession of this book. And I think it is also how Mortmain was able to create these clockwork creatures, the automatons that we see so far in the series. So there might be a possibility that he wants Tessa to access his father's memories so that he gets like something in regards to the creatures, like how he can make them, I don't know, indestructible or something like that. I don't know. As Jem and Will and Tessa were on their way to visit Mortmain's old house that was also in York, Will sees someone that he recognizes, and that someone is none other than Cecily, his sister. And he obviously spirals because he's thinking if Cecily is here, then also his parents are here. And they find out that Will's parents are actually living in Mortmain's old house. I don't know. As Jem is trying to convince Will not to go talk to his sister because he would put in peril their mission of finding Mortmain if he does that, and also he would probably endanger his parents, they are getting attacked by an automaton. And as Will is trying to just like kill this thing, turns out the automaton has a very specific message for Will, and that is basically to not look into Mortmain's past, because if they continue to do that, Mortmain will kill Will's family. Also, as they're battling this automaton, Tessa's necklace protects her, the like Clockwork Angel necklace. And this was mentioned in the first book as well. When she was getting attacked, that necklace somehow protected her. So I think it's going to become more and more relevant, and we will find out what's up with that whole story arc. As they are going back to London, Jem and Tessa are going back to the Institute, but Will doesn't want to go with them. So he goes to Magnus, our favorite warlock icon. He now explains to Magnus what is his curse and why he left his family when he was a kid. So pay attention because this is huge news. In his childhood, Will didn't know that his father was a shadow hunter. As he was looking around in his father's office, he found a Pixies box. So he opened that box and that demon cursed him so that everyone that loves Will eventually die a tragic death eventually. And the fucked up thing is that his other sister Ella was actually found dead the next day. So ever since then, he was trying to protect the people that he loved. So his parents, his other sister, also Jem and Tessa, and so on. And right now in the story, we get to understand his motives for the thing that he said and did at the end of Clockwork Angel. Something completely unrelated, but I thought it was so funny. Jem obviously speaks Mandarin as well. And as he was talking to Tessa, I think they were on their way back to the Institute or something like that. Tessa's like, oh, tell me something in Mandarin. And Jem's like, 你很漂亮. I am so glad that my 3 years of learning Chinese paid off because in the beginning, Tessa asks him, what does it mean? And he's like, oh, something about your hair, or I don't know what he says exactly, but 你很漂亮 actually means you are beautiful. And he will explain this to her eventually, but I don't know. That just like took me out completely. Also, something related to Jem. I knew from the first book that he is slowly dying, but I couldn't actually remember why. It's because he's addicted to yin fun. If there's something about Cassie Clare, she loves to make at least one of the characters from each like trilogy or series addicted to yin fun. I don't know what it is. As Tessa and Sophie are training with Gideon and Gabriel, Gabriel finally tells them why the Lightwoods hate Charlotte so much. So it turns out that Charlotte's father was very close friends with the brother of Benedict's wife, and the brother's name was Silas. And Silas apparently broke the law, and the way that Gabriel explained it was like, oh, it was just like a minor offense. But no. Turns out that Silas actually fell in love with his parabatai, or parabatai. I think it's parabatai. I never actually said this word out loud. Anyway, but I see what you did there, Cassie, because this is foreshadowing for the Dark Artifices. But yeah, basically Charlotte's father reported Silas to the Clave, and he was so ashamed that he killed himself. And because of that, Benedict's wife also died of grief for losing her brother. So these are the origins of the whole like conflict between the Fairchilds and the Lightwoods. Also, there's this whole like super stupid thing that Will does. I guess it's not that stupid now that we know his backstory, but after he leaves Magnus's house, he doesn't go straight to the Institute. He goes to one of the opioid dens that he used to buy infun from. And he is basically there high on infun, and Jem and Tessa have to go and rescue him from there. But as he is there, he sees that a lot of werewolves are also consuming like concerning amounts of yin fun. So as Jem and Tessa are transporting him back to the Institute and he tells to Charlotte all of this, Charlotte is concerned that the head of the London werewolves could potentially betray the Clave and the Accords, just as the Quincy did in the first book. So she is inviting the head of the London werewolves. He has like a pretty stupid name, like Wool something. She invites him over for some tea, and also some tea, if you know what I mean. And now it is revealed that the whole thing that happened with the Quincy is actually in Charlotte's favor because we learn in the first book that Camille's boyfriend was killed by the Quincy, and Camille's boyfriend was a werewolf. Turns out that that werewolf that was Camille's boyfriend and also killed by the Quincy was none other than the brother of the head. Oh my god, what is his name? Wait, hold on. I have to look for this because it's gonna drive me mad. Woolsey. Woolsey. There we go. His name is Woolsey. Okay, so because they have killed the Quincy, Woolsey is now like eager to help them with whatever he can. But also in the same time, he's like, I'm not responsible for any wolf that's not in my pack, basically. So this is where I kind of left off. I am starting reading chapter 11 right now, and I will update you when something major happens or when I will be finishing this book. So see you in a bit.
Sitting in the basement apartment I rented with you, remembering the holiday party we had with the crew. Romeo was roaming the garden, Saturday was spent in a parking lot. Gave it all we got. It was so
Hi friends, I have finally finished Clockwork Prince and I am not okay. I'm not okay at all. A lot of things happened and still nothing really happened for the overarching plot of the series, but a lot of things happened in terms of our main characters, like connections and relationships between them and stuff like that. Since I last updated you, turns out that Jessamine is the mole inside of the Institute because she's in cahoots with Nate. And not only that, but she and Nate are married now. Crazy. When Charlotte finds out, she sends Jessamine to the Silent City because Mortmain put some sort of like a mind word on Jessamine so that she doesn't remember details about Mortmain. So the Silent Brothers are trying to solve that to see if they can find more information about Mortmain from Jessamine. There's two battles, I feel like. Anyway, long story short, Nate dies. Who cares? Moving along. We also find out that Tessa and Nate are not actually siblings but cousins because Aunt Harriet is not actually their aunt, but it is Tessa's aunt and Nate's mother. So that's why she has powers and he has not. And also we find out that Tessa's mom was a shadow hunter. So it is indeed hinted at the fact that Tessa is the child of a shadow hunter and of a demon. We still don't really know how that is possible because in the codex it is said that a shadow hunter and a demon cannot have children, like they would be stillborn. So we still don't know what's up with that. Will's story arc is just insane. This kid has been traumatized since he was 12, and now, after 5 years, he finally finds out what's up with the whole cursed by a demon situation. So Magnus is waiting for Camille to come back because he's supposedly in love with her. But she has not been faithful, so now Magnus is heartbroken. And he uses Will to make Camille jealous, and they kiss, which I didn't expect. And then Magnus agrees to try again to summon the demon from Will's childhood. And this time he is able to do that because Will saw the demon a couple of days prior to that interaction, and he attacked the demon bit him, and he has the tooth of the demon. So this is how Magnus is able to summon the demon that cursed Will in his childhood. Well, turns out the curse is not real. And Will has been living in a lie for the past 5 years. So he now realizes that he pushed aside everyone in his life because he thought that they will die because of the curse. But if the curse is not real, then there's a whole like emotional turmoil. And Will was dramatic enough up until this point. But after he finds out that he's not actually cursed, it all goes downhill from here. So he wants to profess his love for Tessa. The thing is that Jem proposes to Tessa and she says yes. So they're gonna marry, basically. And at least how I read it, it just seems like Tessa is agreeing to marry Jem out of pity for him. Like, she knows that he's going to die eventually, and I just don't know how I feel about that, because I just want nothing but the best for Jem, and I hope that he's not going to be heartbroken or something else happens to him in Clockwork Princess, because I'm going to be heartbroken if something happens to Jem. Also, in the second part of the book, we get this really heartfelt conversation between Charlotte and Henry, because they both thought that each other married the other one out of some sort of duty or necessity, and it turns out that they actually love each other. And at the end of the book, Charlotte announces that she's pregnant, so that went well between them. Benedict, I almost wanted to say Benedict Cumberbatch, and I know that's not correct. Benedict Lightwood. At the beginning of this book, he was basically forcing the hand of the council to name him the head of the London Institute. But what we find out in the second half of the book is that he is actually in cahoots with Mortmain. And not only that, but the whole thing, the whole like feud between the Fairchilds and the Lightwoods is all a lie, because that was never actually true. Turns out Benedict has demon pox. Everyone who made fun of Will for demon pox, they're shaking in their boots now, because demon pox is real. And not only that, but Benedict infected his wife knowingly with demon pox. So that's why she's dead. So that's not great for the Lightwoods. Gideon, after finding all of this, obviously he is siding with Charlotte and the whole Shadowhunter crew from the London Institute, so he's not taking sides with his father anymore. In this way, Charlotte is able to blackmail Benedict to be on her side for when the council is meeting again after that 2-week period. And at the end of the book, we see Benedict praising Charlotte in front of the council, and basically her position as the head of the London Institute is safe. The book ends with Cecily Herondale making an appearance at the London Institute, saying that she wants to be trained as a shadow hunter. Some questions that I have after reading the second book. So we still don't really know what Tessa is, because we are pretty sure that her mother was a shadow hunter and her dad was a demon, but we don't really know, like, is she a warlock, is she a downworlder, is she some sort of thing that we have never seen before? We don't know. There was like a very weird interaction between Tessa and the Starkweather head of the Institute from York at the final council meeting, and I'm curious if Tessa is somehow related to Starkweather, because that whole situation between them and that whole conversation seemed very odd to me. Like, they just met briefly when Will and Jem and Tessa were in York, and Starkweather didn't really like them that much. And now, all of a sudden, he just like asks Tessa if she's okay, if she's doing good and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what's happening? Because you just briefly met. There's this like very strange conversation, or not conversation, but like inner monologue more so with Tessa regarding immortality. And I'm just wondering, is she already immortal or is she going to become immortal following the events from Clockwork Princess? I'm going to go start reading Clockwork Princess now, which is the third installment of the Infernal Devices trilogy, and I will be updating you soon. Hi friends, as you can probably already tell by my background, I am back home. And when I arrived home, there was a package waiting for me, and this is it. I decided to buy a full boxed set of the Infernal Devices because this series is taking over my life as of the moment, and I wanted to have physical copies of these books. And yeah, this happened. It was very hard to find them somewhere in stock because in the bookstores they were like everywhere sold out, or if they were in stock, I couldn't find the last one, which is Clockwork Princess, which is the one that I'm currently reading right now. So while I was looking on the internet, I was like, you know what, let me go on Vinted because probably there are people who are selling their older copies of this trilogy. And first of all, again, couldn't find Clockwork Princess. I don't know what's happening with this book. And not only that, but the first two volumes in this trilogy were so expensive secondhand. And if you add like taxes and transportation and stuff like that, it gets even more expensive. Like, I don't know what's happening. But anyway, I found them in stock at a bookstore slash stationery store that usually carries nonfiction. So I didn't think I would find them there, but I did. And I paid like around 15 euros for the whole box set, which again is crazy because that is the price of only like one book. So I'm very happy about that. Let's start unboxing and looking at these books because I didn't do that already. I wanted to do it on camera if I can. There we go. I'm not a huge fan of like these boxes that the books are coming in when you order like a boxed set. And this is one of those ones that you can kind of like fold like this. I don't know. But anyway, that's not important. So let's actually start with Clockwork Angel, which is the first book that I read last year. I love that they have like this design on the spines, and you can kind of line them up on your bookshelves so they look like, you know, they're part of the same series because they are. So that's great. And then Clockwork Prince, love this book so much. And then the one that I am currently reading is Clockwork Princess. Let's actually see where I am with Clockwork Princess on my Kindle. So I am currently 35%. I am on chapter 9. This book is longer than I have expected, but I'm enjoying it so far. Let me actually see where chapter 9 would be in the physical copy. So this is chapter 8 and then chapter 9. Okay. So, oh, okay, I am on page 205, which is, you know, further than I thought. Let's put a little bookmark here so that we have a visual representation as well. So what happened so far? Benedict Lightwood turned into a demon because of the demon pox, and they had to kill him. Also, Benedict, before they killed him, he murdered his son-in-law, which is the husband of Tatiana, and Tatiana hate her. She basically reported everyone to the clave, saying that they have murdered Benedict, but not including any of the demon pox, demon turning situation. And he turned into a worm, which was pretty funny considering his character arc in the first two books. Also, Jem is accelerating the way that he takes his yin fun, so he doesn't have much left, and this is causing distress for Will and Tessa, obviously for the other ones as well, but mostly for Will and Tessa, and they are going to Magnus to try and look for a cure for Jem. We get this really heartfelt moment between Wolsey Scott and Magnus, because Magnus is currently staying in Wolsey Scott's house, and Wolsey asks Magnus if he loves Will, and he says that he doesn't like love him romantically, but he kind of feels responsible for Will's life and for him to be happy, because he was the one that kind of opened his eyes with the whole cursed by a demon thing. So now Magnus feels responsible for Will. Also, pretty early on in the book, we find out that Consul Josiah Wayland is scheming against Charlotte, because each 10 years they have to appoint a new consul, and the board of the Council of the Shadowhunters is actually considering Charlotte because they think she did well in her challenges with Morgmain so far, and they want to appoint her as the head of the Shadowhunter Council. But the current consul, Josiah, wants to appoint his nephew as consul to stay in the family. And he tries to catch Charlotte doing something, against the clave, so that he can basically justify his hatred for Charlotte. We also find out that Jessamine is going to be released, and this is the point in the book where I stopped reading, so I have to continue to see what's happening next. So the plan for today is I want to go outside because there's a lot of sun and I want to take advantage of it. This is my last day off of work, so I want to enjoy it as much as possible. And yeah, I'm gonna read some more of Clockwork Princess. I am going to have a coffee potentially, so I will see you in a bit when I read more of Clockwork Princess. Hi friends, this morning I have finished Clockwork Princess. Also, I want to preface this by saying that I'm not feeling great, partly because of the book, because I cried for like an hour after I read it, but then also because I feel like I catched a cold or something. My throat just hurts and I'm not feeling okay. So, if my voice doesn't sound great, that's why. I wanted to do the same thing for this book as I did for the second one, like explaining more or less what happens in it. But then I just got carried away because you don't have time to catch your breath in this book. Everything happens so rapidly, and there are some things that completely took me by surprise, but I will get to those in a second. In terms of the plot, like actually what happens with the villain of the story and everything with the Magister and the Shadow Hunters and how they defeat him, it just felt like it was not that well developed in my opinion. But other than that, other than like the plot being a bit, simplistic, which is again understandable because this is a YA fantasy, I just love the character work so much and the relationships between the characters. I really love this book and this trilogy overall. I feel like these characters are so fleshed out and you spend so much time with them and you get attached to them and you want to be connected with them and learn their stories. It was so well done. When I read the epilogue, I just couldn't believe what I was reading. In the epilogue, so Will and Tessa got married in like their original timeline. But what I kind of forgot about was that Tessa is immortal and she pretty much saw Will die. She saw everyone from this trilogy die at some point because she's immortal, so she doesn't have to worry about that. But in the epilogue, we make a time jump all the way up to the present day, or what would be the present day in the timeline of the Mortal Instruments in 2008. And in 2008, as in every year pretty much, Tessa is supposed to meet Brother Zachariah on that bridge in London where they first met. But now she doesn't see Brother Zachariah. She sees Jem returning because following the events that happened in the second half of the Mortal Instruments, that's a mouthful to say, they found a cure for Jem and he's pretty much in his like original form but without the addiction for yin fun. So everything kind of worked out for them, but it was such a journey to get to this conclusion. It is safe to say that right now I am in somewhat of a Shadowhunter rabbit hole because right now I want to read all of the other accompanying series for the Mortal Instruments. I don't think I'm gonna touch that series just because I don't want to read the whole you're my brother and I love you storyline, But this trilogy convinced me to continue with the Shadowhunter world because I just love this book so much and I think they're definitely a standout for this year for sure. As you can see here, I have already acquired copies of the Dark Artifices. I know it's supposed to be Dark Artifices, that's how Cassandra Clare says it, but to me it just doesn't make sense, so I'm just gonna say Dark Artifices. If you have not read this trilogy in a while, or if you have not read it at all, you don't have to have any previous knowledge of this universe of the Shadowhunters. You don't have to read the Mortal Instruments first. This just works as a standalone series. But I will say it does help if you have prior knowledge of the Mortal Instruments because there are some Easter eggs in these books that will just make you more immersed into this universe of the Shadowhunters that Cassandra Clare created. But yeah, that being said, this pretty much concludes today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments down below if you are currently in the middle of a series or if you have a recommendation for me, like a recommendation for a fantasy series that you would like me to read. And yeah, until next time, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you soon in a new video. Bye everyone.